everybody. How are you? This is Mrs. Korf. Do you miss me? Because I miss you. I really wish we were in class together. But this will have to do. So today I'm making chicken stock. And I have my ingredients set out. I have chicken legs with bones in them. I have an onion. I have a carrot, some carrots. I have celery. Then I also have parsley, thyme, garlic, bay leaves, and peppercorns. And that's all you need for stock. Now, because of our limits in this time, I've got dried herbs rather than fresh. Of course, fresh would be best. So normally instead of parsley, dried parsley, you would use parsley stems. And you would use thyme stems, or sprigs. And you would use fresh garlic. Actually, I had garlic left over from class, so I just brought that back home with me. But the peppercorns are correct, and so are the bay leaves. Usually you put all of these into a sachet, which is a cheesecloth with these items in it tied together and then put into the stock so you can maintain a clear stock. But in my experience, you can maintain a clear stock even though you have these separate. I'm just going to put them in the water because we're going to strain it out later. So the first thing I need to do is I'm going to get my chicken legs ready. Now normally I would cut up a whole chicken for you, but I couldn't find any. So the next best thing is going to be chicken legs, and the reason why they're so good is because they also have a nice long bone inside of them. They have some meat around them, so this really is going to be more like a chicken broth than a stock, because as you know from your reading, that chicken broth is made with meat in it, and chicken stock is made with just the bones. So we're going to, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to cut the meat off of the bone, but I am going to break the bone inside to the best of my ability, because again, at school I have a nice big meat cleaver that's heavy and I snap these bones real quick and easy with them. But today all I have is my chef's knife, so I'm going to do the best I can and see how I can break these up. But basically, usually at school, I'll take my big meat cleaver and I'll hit it really hard, like so. And that was easy to break. So I'm going to do that with each and every one of these chicken legs, and I'm going to throw them in there, and you can see there's actually a lot of chicken legs. Normally when I do this with the whole chicken, I would remove the breast, and I would take the chicken apart, and then I would keep the breast meat for the soup. So today I picked up chicken breasts separately from the bones. Okay, and the reason why I'm breaking these bones is because there's marrow inside the bone. You can see the marrow in there. That's actually where the blood is made from the body. But anyway, the marrow's in there, and it gives a really good flavor to the stock. So that's why we break those long bones. Just like that. It's really simple to do. This is a nice way to take your frustrations out. You're all cooked up. Go beat up a chicken. So, well, this one's kind of frozen. I don't know how this one's gonna go. There we go. It's easier to break them when you're down towards the small of the bone than the thicker part of the bone. If they break in half, that's fine. Because what you're gonna do is you're gonna extract flavor. Here's a tough one. We're gonna extract flavor from the bones and the meat into the water as it cooks, and then it's gonna leave the bones and the meat flavorless. And so we're going to get rid of that, or I might feed the meat to my dogs, or if I want to, I can pick out the meat if I want to later, and then put it back into the soup. Oops, this one's a tough one. There we go. But as you can see, it takes lots of bones to make a good stock. You can do this with chicken wings too. Let's say you go to the store and you buy, okay, Gordon Foods, you can buy a big old 5-pound, 10-pound bag of chicken wings, and you can use those too. But you still want to break them up so you can get that marrow into the stock. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill this up so that the cold water, I'm going to use cold water, just covers the bones about 2 inches above the bones. And then I'm going to put it on the stove to simmer. and at the last, and it's going to simmer 4 to 6 hours. And so at the last hour or so, then I'm going to put in my vegetables. And the vegetables I have are onions, celery, and carrots, and those 3 items combined is what we call a mirepoix, mirepoix. And those 3 items together are going to bring some nice flavor to the stock. I'm also going to wait until that time to put in the sachet, because if you cook spices too long, the flavors will actually cook away, and you want as much flavor incorporated into this as possible. So I'm gonna go get some water in this, and I'm gonna get it on the stove, and then I'll get my vegetables ready. Now, when you're preparing vegetables for a stock, you don't have to cut them small. For chicken stock and beef stocks, you can cut them actually quite large because they do simmer for quite a bit of time. If I'm making a vegetarian stock, which sometimes those of you who are vegetarian obviously will, you would cut the vegetables much smaller because the cooking time for that is only about 45 minutes, just enough to extract the flavor out of the vegetables. But since we have to cook these bones for a long time, we can cut the vegetables kind of big, so we can put them in for about an hour, and that'll be good to extract the flavor from them. So what I'm going to use, and you'll probably notice I'm going to use the same cutting board because it's going to go in the pot with the raw chicken anyway later. So, so what I like to use for my stock actually are the pieces that you would normally probably throw away, and then I'll use the rest of it for my soup. So these pieces that don't look so nice, I can save for stock. Now at school, we have a lot of these in the freezer that I was saving specifically for this, but I neglected to bring them home to do this. So I had these available. Use these little pieces. This is going to be really good. Now, the key to a good stock, I should say, how do you know if you have a good stock, is its clarity. And to maintain a clear stock, you have to start with cold water. And you don't want to boil your water ever. You just want to keep it at a simmer. I will, however, put it on high on the stove until I can get to that simmer point. Then I'll turn it down really low so that the bubbles just reach the surface of the stock and kind of break, and it just sits there on that low heat for hours and hours and hours. Okay, so I have these items that are ready for my stock that I'll be putting in later. So I'm going to put those in there, that same bowl that I had the legs in. It'll be fine. And then I'm going to put, I had this little piece of carrot left over. Then I'm going to take these little pieces of carrots for my stock. And again, it's just a rough cut. I've washed them, but I haven't peeled them, but you don't need to do that. You don't have to peel them for stock because we don't care what these vegetables look like. They just need to be able to extract flavor. So I just kind of cut the ends off, and then I'll do a rough chop like this, and then that'll go into that stock later. And then my onion, I cut both ends off, and I took the peel off, and I'm just going to take my onion and I'm going to quarter it, just like that, and that's going to go in just like that. And then later on, I'm going to add all these items in there for more flavor to the stock. So that's all my aromatics for my stock. For my aromatics, it's that sachet, and you've learned that term in your book, aromatics. And the aromatics are your spices and herbs. And then, of course, you have your mirepoix, which gives it a little bit of flavor as well. So now I'm going to save these. I actually don't need this. But I'm going to cut these up actually for the soup. And again, I know you're like, oh my gosh, she's using the same cutting board that she used for her raw chicken. Well, this is all going to get cooked in the same product. So that's why it's okay to do that. So I'm going to cut down my celery, and you want your vegetables for your soup to look nice, but you also want them kind of small. So you're going to cut these down for the soup. Now I do have some leftover onions from school that I was able to bring home. And they were the diced ones that you guys did way back in the fall when you did your knife skills. I'm going to use that actually in my soup later. Okay. Nice and thin. It's about 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch thin. Remember your knife skills. Keep your fingers back and out of the way. I don't know about you, but I like lots of vegetables in my soup because I like a nice hearty soup. I like a lot of meat in the soup. I just like a nice, I don't like more broth and it's too soupy. You know, I like it nice and thick so I know I'm getting a good meal. Now the normal ratio for mirepoix is 50% onion, 25% celery, and 25% carrot. So if I had 3 pounds of mirepoix, you might get a recipe that calls for mirepoix and it says 3 pounds of mirepoix. Well, 50% of 3 is 1.5, so 1.5 pounds would be onions. And then half of that 1.5 is going to be about 3/4 of a pound, so about 12 ounces of carrots and 12 ounces of celery to round out your mirepoix. Good way to get some knife skills in is making some soup. Later I'm going to show you how to put the soup together, and I'm also going to show you how to make the noodles. Even though I know I posted a video of the noodles from somebody else, I'll show you how to do them too. Now I don't have whole carrots at home. I just had these little baby carrots here, and they'll work. They work just fine. So I'm just gonna slice those up nice and round, being careful of my fingers. If you feel daring, you can do 2 at a time, but when it gets down to the end, it's just difficult to hold on to because there's so little. And with the weather the way it's been lately, nice hot soup is yummy and comforting. Again, notice how I'm just using this part of my blade. I'm keeping my fingers out of the way, curling those tips back so I don't see the nails, so I don't get the tips of my fingers cut off. It's never fun. I've done it a few times and it's never fun. It just slows you everything down in the kitchen when you injure yourself. So. And you can show off your skills to your parents there at home. That'll be fun. They'll enjoy that. Now for my family, we've got 8 of us living here, so I have to make lots of stock and soup to feed my bunch. For your family, for a gallon of stock, 1 whole chicken will suffice, or probably about 8 chicken legs would be all right. But that would be good. Oh, I gotta get that stock on the stove. So. If you have any questions about any of this, please feel free to call me or text me or message me on Google Classroom. The quickest way to get my attention is to text me. So you're welcome to do that. You guys should all have my phone number. If you don't, just email me, ask for it, and I'll get that to you. So. There, that looks like about enough. And then I've got my onions here that I'm going to use. So now I'm going to move into making the soup for you.